is you're not gonna have to. I'm recording this video, by the way. I just started recording it. What's crazy is the system is set up to where you're not gonna need an auditor.
I don't know. Low key.
Depending on what system that you're using,
Yeah.
because I'm gonna cover it in the PowerPoints and in the video.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah, I'm gonna just go on and start right now at 6:07.
Okay.
Uh, a few more people might join later. Disclaimer: if my screen go out, if my voice end up getting muted or something, they've been tapping my computer and stuff and my phone and stuff. So if it go out, just send me a message. Instagram, Facebook, my number, whatever, and I'll try to get everything rolling again because they'll really shut my stuff down.
I can believe it.
All right, let me share my screen. All right, my screen should be shown. Y'all see it?
Mm-hmm.
And can y'all see in the meeting where it say 5 people?
Yeah, I see that. Wait. Oh, you talking about on our screen or looking at yours?
Can y'all see mine?
Yeah, I see yours. I
Yeah, I
see
see
you
you.
looking at me on the camera.
All right, I'm trying to have everybody be able to join in. All right, I'm finna mute y'all right quick. If y'all got a question or something, just put it in the little comment thing.
Okay.
And since this such a small group, I don't know what's gonna happen later, but since it's just such a small group, stop me when y'all got a question or something. Ask a question in the comment thing or whatever, and I will just play it that way.
Okay.
All right. Actually, you know what? I'm not gonna mute it because it ain't that many people in here. Y'all say something.
Okay, there you go. I had to unmute it.
All right, cool. All right, so I got this little PowerPoint, and I'm kind of gonna go over. I want to teach y'all some of the basics about what real money is, and we're gonna use that as a starting point, and we're gonna transition from a little bit about the history of money, and we're gonna move towards the digital age, which is the age that we're in right now, and why we have to go into the digital age, basically. So real money. Uh, we got to go all the way back, and I don't have this in my PowerPoint, but that's cool because I can share my screen. I want to show y'all what the first currency is, well, was from the US. It's called the Fujio. So this was our first currency. And I want y'all to keep in mind that our financial system is based off of water law, which is admiralty law or maritime law. So they will be used in terms of the sea when they describe our financial system. And they use they use a whole different language called legalese. And that's basically a made up language to keep the common people ignorant of what they really talking about and how our financial system run. So and I'm gonna kind of step into that. But as you see on the Fujio, on the front face of it, it's got a sun, it got a sundial, and I think somebody trying to join in. Let's see. All right. So you see the sun, you see a sundial, and under the sundial it say mind your business. And you see Fujio on the side, it was made in 1787. So the Fujio was made of copper and it was like 0.36 ounces of copper, right? Um, Fujio is Latin and it means to flee or to fly. So you read this coin as the sun telling time on the sundial, as time is flying or fleeing, be mindful of your business. That's to say that everybody here is a business. They're a corporation. They just don't know it. So that's why with your birth certificate and stuff, basically what happened was they done scammed on everybody, and the world don't know it. Just the people who I guess stewards and like did their research and like financial history and knowledge or whatever, you understand what system or matrix that they built. So on your birth certificate, you got what you call a QSIP number. That's basically your business number, like your business ID. So when your mom signs your birth certificate, she basically signs your name away to the state. So you don't actually own your name. The state do. So when you doing business and you conducting business, basically your birth certificate is pretty much a straw man. And it's a fictitious person. I want y'all to remember that whenever you doing business in America, you're conducting business as that straw man. So when you get your mail and it's in all caps and stuff, it's not talking about you, it's talking about your straw man. Because you are a flesh and blood person. Um, your straw man, gonna add somebody else in. All right. So you are a flesh and blood person. Your straw man is paper, right? Like a corporation. Think paper. Uh, the United States of America, corporation. Think corporation. The president is really the president over the corporation. And when we start talking about your straw man and stuff, basically, in short, so we can kind of move forward from it, only paper can talk to paper. So because America is a corporation, well, the US is a corporation, they can only talk to the paper you, which is your straw man from your birth certificate that was signed over to the state. And so in order to conduct business, you have to be in consensus with two parties have to be in consensus. But what people don't know is you are not your straw man. You don't have to do business with the state because it's a corporation. They can't do business with you if you're acting as your flesh and blood self. And before I go further with that, I need to get back on my screen to show y'all some books to get. Y'all can see my screen
Yeah, I see it.
or my face.
No, not your face, just your screen.
Hmm. Actually, I could just pull it up then. So I want y'all to get these books. Get Meet Your Straw Man. And also get the UCC Connection. And there's another one that's called the Common Law Handbook. But you can start with Meet Your Straw Man, and it'll tell you a lot about yourself and how the US and stuff is set up and how it's conducting business. So basically, right now, everybody is worth millions of dollars and they just don't know it. Because when you born, okay, let me backtrack. I told y'all they use legal lease, right? And they use water law. So they use terminology of water, basically. So that's why you have a bank. That's why you have currency like current, water. That's why you have like the sandbar and stuff. So basically, all of the currency goes to the bank, right? And what does the judge sit on? They sit on a bench. And in Latin, bench means bank. So the judge sits over the bank. Remember, this is all a business. So the police department, like our court system, they're all paper. They corporations. If you're acting as the flesh and blood person, you only really have to follow like three laws. That's the common laws. That's what the flesh and blood people practice. And that's basically like you don't kill nobody, not stealing from nobody, and not damaging nobody property type stuff. If you not doing none of them, none of these other statutes and stuff, what they think is the law, you don't have to abide by them because you're acting you're practicing common law. Again, only like three laws, and paper can only interact with paper. So whenever the police pull you over, what they do is they trick you into entering a contract with them because the police department, they're a corporation. So when they ask you, like, you know why I pulled you over, or if they talking like, do you understand me? You understand why I pulled you over? When you say yes, you're entering a verbal contract with them. So you're then acting as your straw man that was created when you were born. You're taking on your straw man embodiment or whatever, the paper. So now the paper is able to interact with the paper. Um, it's also why when you go to a court system, like when you see that little wood gate, the floodgate, remember water? Once you touch that floodgate, you in hot water. And you take accountability basically for your straw man. The only person that's supposed to be able to cross that floodgate is an attorney that's past the bar, like sandbar. And they speak for you because you're considered a dead man. And dead men don't speak for themselves. So that's a whole nother story. I just kind of wanted to kind of touch bases with that with y'all just to kind of put it on y'all mental. And if y'all get these books, Meet Your Straw Man and all of that, you'll learn a lot more and you'll be able to proceed from there. And you'll be able to have the choice and knowledge if you want to become sovereign, which is basically claiming your freedom. Because right now, if you're enacting as your straw man, as that corporation that was made up when you were born, you're not free, basically. Taxes, all of this stuff that people talk about. I know politics and stuff divide people a lot. And really, Democrat, Republican, I know y'all might hear it, but they all two wings of the same bird, two sides of the same ship. They all protect the corporation. That's what they're supposed to do. They're not here to help the average person, the common person. So it's just a lot of trickery that's going on. Also, another book that you should look into is Black let me pull it up. All right, and I think the most current condition, I mean most current edition is the 12th. Yeah. So, Black's Law Dictionary. This will help you be able to understand the terminology that they use in the court system. Basically, legal lease and all of this stuff. You'll be able to understand the jargon that they use and they trick other people in. Like, do you understand me? When they say, do you understand me? They're not asking, do you get what I'm saying? They asking, do you give me permission to stand over you and you understand me? So you giving them a seating to stand above you once you enter that verbal contract. All right. Going back to so remember Black's Law Dictionary. Going back to the Fugio. And why it said mind your business again, because you are a business. You just don't know it. And your business actually has funds that you are entitled to. So you're worth millions. So when a ship comes to dock and stuff and it's birthed, like BERTH, it's birthed from the water. Then someone comes out and they announce the products XYZ that they got or whatever on the ship. When you're in your mom womb, you're birthed through water. So again, legal lease. And basically when she signed that certificate, she's announcing to the banks, hey, I have this new product. And the banks look at it like, oh, how can we make money off of this? So even when you go to court, like through all of those claims and stuff, they're insured. Basically, they're made into bonds. Um, yeah, I'm not gonna get too detailed into that, but on the back of the Fugio, you see it says we are one, and around that is 13 circles, 13 links. That represents the 13 original colonies. And we can go a deep dive into history. That's when we really start talking about the bloodlines. If you ever wonder why, how does it seem that like how can somebody actually own something? And who gives somebody the right to actually own something? Like that don't make sense. We we can bring this all the way back, hundreds of years. Man, they've been robbing from the average person. But moving forward, so a lot of the downfall happened when of the US in a sense when in 1912 when the Titanic sank and whatnot. It actually had a lot of the biggest bankers on the Titanic. And I want to say the Titanic sank in like December 1912. But anyway, once it sank, those bankers died, and they weren't for centralized banking. But one of the bankers that was supposed to be on it was J.P. Morgan. He pulled out at the last minute and he didn't get on the ship. And then right after that, you have in 1913, the Federal Reserve was made. The Federal Reserve is illegal. It's owned by a private entity. It's not even supposed to exist. And then right after the Federal Reserve was made in 1913, that's when you have the 16th Amendment. But let's go further into this. So what's real money again? Y'all need to understand what Gresham's law is to kind of understand how they got us. Why is everything so expensive now, right? So Gresham's law basically states whenever bad money enter the system, good money goes into hiding. So bad money drives out good money. So that's the reason why the average person doesn't know what an ounce of silver or gold is worth. Because in our generation, and I'm born 94, even before that, they never had a chance to operate with real money because they were operating with like the quarters that silver has been taken out of, the dimes and all of this, silver was taken out of that, the real money. And then they replaced it with something that's not valuable. So that's why they're discontinuing the penny and stuff. It costs way more to make it than what it's worth. It's not made out of copper anymore. The good money went into hiding and they replaced it with the bad money. So you have your fiat, your paper money and whatnot. Um Again, Gresham's law. What is real money? Real money is considered gold and silver. Like, don't let nobody tell you different. So when you have a bank account, you a lot of people saving their money in this paper money, and it's not real. So when this system that we in crash, they're going to be left holding the bags with all of this fake money. I don't care if you got 100,000 in your bank account, it's all fake. They schemed on everybody. So what the average person should be doing now, and I'm not a financial advisor, it's not financial advice. None what I'm saying is financial advice. It's this all this for educational purposes. So what the average person should be doing right now is transitioning they fiat, they fake money into real money. So you should be buying gold and silver because you can bet that the government is going to abuse their fake money every time. They're going to abuse the system. So they're just printing money out of thin air. Um, that's why the dollar has declined where it's at now, and why people going to Walmart and stuff or whatever store they shop in, and they be like, "Why everything's so expensive?" Because the feds keep giving permission to print off thin free money out of thin air that don't exist. Because at first, um, you had to have you had to have gold in the bank. So if you got 10 fake dollars, fiat US dollars, you had to have that same amount of value in gold in the bank. But what President Nixon did in 1971 was he broke the gold standard. And that in return let the banks print off as much money, fake money, as they wanted to without having that same in return of gold or whatever, gold or silver or whatever. They didn't have to have it, so they could just print off. That's like one of us just being like, we finna just issue, let's say, Rayvet currency, and you just print your face on a piece of paper that came out of printer. That's what they doing. So they commit fraud. Um, and also in 1933, Franklin Roosevelt made it illegal to own gold. So the people in the US had to sell their gold back to the banks, only for later for them to make it legal again. And then they went up on the price, the value of gold. And that's what we're going into right now. That's why silver and gold are like breaking new all-time highs. You have people like JP Morgan, the big banks and stuff, Goldman Sachs, they've been suppressing silver like crazy. Silver is I'm finna go to my trading view account and show y'all these prices. Silver is $77 right now, an ounce. Now, I can go into the chart. Let's go. It's gonna break us down on a yearly chart. All right. So in the 70s, silver was like $6 an ounce. This in the 70s. Now you have to ask yourself, why is it? Well, it just made an all-time high not too long ago, $121. How did that happen? Some of it is from suppression and Gresham's law again. That's real money. That's what you should be buying. And it's going up because you're actually losing the value of your US dollar. So it's not the fact that silver or gold is going up, it's that it's costing more of your US dollar, your fake money, to be able to buy it by the ounce because they devaluing it when they print off so much fake money. Okay, so y'all kind of got the history of the Fujio, a little bit about gold. But gold and silver stand the test of time. It holds its value. So when somebody say they have a savings account, you really not saving your money like that unless if it's in gold or silver. And you don't need to be getting no ETF or nothing like that. You need to get the physical gold or silver because if you don't physically have it in your hands, you don't own it. And that's just straight facts. All right. Going into centralization versus decentralization.
Mm.
Right now, we're in a centralized system. So you have your JP Morgans, your Bank of Americas, whatever bank you bank with. It's centralized. They make the rules and control your money. So that's why you can't get 50,000 out the bank when you just go to the bank and it's your money. And they like, "Oh, you got to wait for it." That's a centralized system. Decentralized gives you the power back. So you don't need a third party to be able to send your money or to be able to operate. And this kind of lead us into the crypto side of things. So basically, in a decentralized system, think peer to peer. So if Cassandra, if I want to send you 20 million right now, I can send you 20 million. Don't nobody have to write it off. Don't nobody have to hold my money back or nothing. Don't nobody have to be like, oh, well, you gotta wait a second until we get your money. I can send you 20 million just like that, and they don't have nothing to do with it. The banks won't have nothing to do with it. It's just me and you. Now we're going into cryptocurrency. Basically, crypto is like digital code, digital money. Um, I was trying to think of so many ways how I wanted to kind of go into the crypto subject because there's so many, and I don't want to confuse everybody by getting too deep. That's why I wanted to kind of make this like a basic class. But in short, I'm gonna just speak with Canada. Bitcoin is trash. Ethereum is trash. Bitcoin is one of the. I don't know if y'all seen the Epstein files and stuff, or even know anything about it. But I was telling people in my prior classes that I had years ago, don't trust Bitcoin because they sell it as it's a guy named Satoshi Nakamoto who created it, right? He has a white paper, and I got this in my on my tab. Let me find it. All right. This is Satoshi Nakamoto white paper. A white paper pretty much explains the tokenomics of what they created token does basically. So it'll give you you see the introduction or whatever. It tell you how it work, and it can even tell you like the future plans of it and how this is consensus mechanism that Bitcoin uses. It uses proof of work, and proof of work is basically old news. It shouldn't be used. The proof of work doesn't work. That whole consensus mechanism doesn't work. And I'm gonna explain what consensus is uh, a little bit later on. But I want y'all to know Satoshi Nakamoto dropped this white paper in 2009. So what's important about that is, I'm gonna go back to my regular screen. What's important about that is in 2008 we had the housing market crash, right? One of the biggest crashes. 2009, this fictional character Satoshi Nakamoto drops a white paper and introduces the world to Bitcoin, digital currency, right? 2010, Obama signed the Dodd-Frank Act. And remember, when I told y'all about these politics, I would stay clear of the politics. Don't pick a side. Don't be Democrat or Republican or whoever. Just be an observer, because they two wings of the same bird. They protect the corporation, and they let the regular people, they get the short end of the stick every time. It's designed that way. So they not on your team, basically. Um, Obama signed the Dodd-Frank Act, and what that does is it makes all unsecured creditors. So at first in 2008, it was a bank crash, so it was a bail out. The government bailed the banks out, right, to keep them from failing. So with the Dodd-Frank Act, DODD Frank, and I'm finna pull it up. July 2010. Basically, what this does is the next time it's a bank bailout, it's going to be a bail in. So everybody that has a bank account in the banks can legally take everybody money to bail themselves out. And so your money is not safe in the bank. They not gonna tell you this. Um, and I was always, this is my theory. I can't say that they gonna roll with it this way, but I got a theory that in a crash is inevitable. It's coming. It's gonna be a real big crash that's coming. My theory is they're going to take everybody money with a bail in, and then they're going to offer you their currency. So let's say that JP Morgan has JPM coin, right? So the average person, really all of this money it's already been digital. Ones and O's. Fake. You can just create a number. So once if they give you JPM coin or a federal currency, they have you locked in on their blockchain. So you have to follow the rules on the federal currency or whatever coin that they made blockchain. It's not decentralized finance. And so let's say that somebody want to ride about something, or let's just say that somebody decide out of nowhere, like, I don't like the color pink. If you wearing the color pink, we finna lock your account up. You can't use it. That's why all of this global ID and all of this stuff is a big thing. And the average person don't know. They pretty much they digitizing people in a sense. So they're putting everything is going to be connected. So your car payments, your house, you as a person, your job, everything is going to be connected. That's when you start talking about social credit scores and all of this stuff. So I don't like the shoes that CJ wearing. Lock his account up. Oh, he finna get paid? No, he not finna get paid because we locking it up. So again, if you go into the centralized banking currencies or whatever, you kind of open the Pandora box to be controlled and them to basically shut your finances or your source of living down, basically. And I think that's what they have been planning to do because they've been trying to they're trying to find a way to control people because crypto opens up the doorway to freedom because of decentralized finance. Like I said, if I wanted to send anybody 50 million right now, I can send it without the bank's permission. They wouldn't even know through crypto, certain cryptos, even though it's all recorded on the blockchain. Do any of that make sense to y'all? Yeah, I ain't getting none. I'm guessing it making sense.
I'm following so far.
Cool. All right. But anyway, keep in mind, Satoshi Nakamoto is a pseudonym. And I want to say Satoshi Nakamoto is Japanese. We talking about Bitcoin, the creator of Bitcoin. And it stands for middle intelligence. Satoshi Nakamoto means middle intelligence, which is central intelligence. So thanks CIA. I got a video that has I forget her name. I think it might be Raina from Homeland Security saying that they met with the four Satoshis. So I'm telling you, I got it on video. I can show you. I'll have to go through my files and look that video up. But that's saying that they know our Homeland Security knows who made Bitcoin. They just not telling the average person. And so that pretty much puts you in danger because, and I'm finna go into why it's dangerous not knowing who made it, because you don't know how much whoever owns of it. And you can basically control the blockchain if you have 51% of that token. So you can rewrite things in the blockchain. And I'm gonna get on what a blockchain is and the blocks coming up. But breaking down Bitcoin, the smallest unit of a Bitcoin is called a Satoshi. That's the smallest unit you can break it down to. And 100 million Satoshis equals one Bitcoin. So just like 100 pennies equals $1, or 25 pennies equal $1, 10 dimes equal $1. That's basically the concept. So when you send in Bitcoin and stuff, the average person not having I think Bitcoin going for like 60 some thousand right now. They not having one Bitcoin. They sending over Satoshis, not the complete coin. Moving forward, this is a block from a blockchain. A blockchain is basically, in layman's terms, a ledger of information. It's just recorded information. So you can think of a file cabinet that has multiple files in them. The multiple files will be the blocks. Each block records data. It has a hash, like the name of it, and it has the previous block's hash. So the hash is like a unique identifier of that block. So you see in this example, the hash is in the green block. It's got the name of it, 1Z8F. That's the name. It don't have no hashes before it because the first block that's recorded in the blockchain is called the Genesis block. So it's not going to have a block before it because it's the first one that first started recording information. And that information can be like, I went to Walmart and I swiped my card and whatever costs $200, right? That information gets recorded into that first block. Mark went to Walmart at this time. He spent this much money. You can even say he bought these items. That information is recorded in that block. Once that block is filled up, it goes to block 2, the yellow block. So it creates, once it's filled, it creates a whole nother block and it stores information. So Neo goes to Sam's and he buys XYZ. All of that information is recorded on block 2. But block 2, through its consensus mechanism, it's able to know the information on block 1. So if something happened in with the system and somebody be like, well, did Mark go to Walmart at this time or whatever? Did he spend this whatever? Block 2 is gonna go back to block 1 and find that information out. Even if we get to block 3 and that question get asked, block 3 is gonna go to block 2. Block 2 is gonna go to block 1 and find that information out. And if all of those blocks agree that it happened, it's consensus and it's agreed upon, so it actually happened. So I actually did go to Walmart. If all of the, because all the blocks all of the blocks of information are gonna check themselves and see if that's true. So the problem with Bitcoin is, if someone owns 51% of the blockchain, they can rewrite the information on the blocks. So actually, I want to say, so say I own more than 51%. I want to say, nah, I won at Walmart on this day and I didn't spend this money. That's how you can start committing fraud. That's another reason why Bitcoin shouldn't be trusted. You got Central Intelligence, it's a fictitious name, and we don't know who owns how much of Bitcoin. Because if they own more than 51%, they can commit fraud basically. All right, and I got some videos I put on my YouTube. Let's see which one to play first. Actually, I'm gonna move forward before I get into the smart contracts and stuff. And this is just an example of like what I'm saying. Like it's checking the name, it's checking the hash. Like they changed the whole name of block 2. And block 3 checking it like, hold up, because block 3 recorded the real name. Somebody switched block 2 name up, and it's like that's not right. So the transaction is not gonna go through. Not gonna go into this the mining and stuff because that's a little bit more detailed. And I know I done already kind of hit y'all with a lot of information with the water law and all this type stuff, our first currency. But the blockchain is basically what all you basically need to understand. It's just a ledger of information. So whenever anybody mention a blockchain, it's just information that's recorded that can be checked. So you don't need a third party to audit, because if it's on the accurate blockchain, on a trusted blockchain, how it should be, nobody has to audit it because the computers are auditing it. It's all in the blockchain. Um, and in short, again, this is how blockchain works. A transaction is requested. So let's say that Buff asking me for, oh no, Buff trying to send over $20 to me, right? Once he puts that information in, a block is created. Buff is asking for $20. The block is then sent to every node or whatever. All of this stuff is being recorded. Nodes validate the transaction. So you think computer systems. And then once everything is finalized, it's recorded on the block. The whole transaction is recorded on the block. That's basically how it works. Now with crypto, once you buy crypto, I don't know how many of y'all got into it yet. I recommend getting into it. Again, not financial advice, not a financial advisor, but this is what our new system, this is our new financial system. You can't run from it. You're going to be forced into this new system. And once they flip the switch, that's it. So everybody should just be trying to inform themselves and teach others as much as they can right now. And everybody that's on this call, you at a very opportune time right now because you can buy so many real world utility cryptos for less than a penny. And these are going to be the cryptos that run our new financial system. And remember what I told y'all about gold and silver, that's real money. And we're transitioning into, even though gold and silver is still good and you should have that, you need the crypto too. And it's, you're going to be, I'll just pull it up. ISO 222. So ISO 222 is basically what our new finance, it's going to be the rules and the approved coins that's going to be on our new financial system. And I'm going to play this quick video so you can
Welcome back to
understand it.
Stronghold 101. As you probably know, Fedwire will be adopting ISO 20022 on March 10, 2025. But what does this mean? It means that, beginning in March of next year, the Federal Reserve will require that all transactions going through its Fedwire fund service will have to comply with the ISO 20022 standard. This new standard gives you faster, more efficient, and more secure digital payments and wire transfers. It also provides standardized elements and structures with richer data for more interoperability, transparency, and better reconciliation processes and compliance. ISO 20022 also improves straight-through processing and cash flow tracking across various systems, financial institutions, and regions, saving banks time and resources on manual interventions, which means less delays, less fraud, and a better overall experience for your customers. So, what do you need to do to be ready for ISO 20022? First, make sure that your current payment systems, messaging platforms, and reporting capabilities can handle the increased data volume. A comprehensive migration plan should include important deadlines, resource allocations, and a thorough system impact assessment. Make sure that you've communicated your migration plan, payment format changes, and any reporting requirements with third-party providers or software companies that you work with. It's important to understand the differences between the current MT messaging format and ISO 20022's new MX messaging format. This understanding will help you conduct a thorough gap analysis so you can make better decisions about your migration plan. Obviously, education and training are critical. Your internal and external stakeholders, partners, staff, and customers need to be well informed about upcoming changes and have access to the resources they need to navigate the new standard. This past May, we acquired 20022 Labs. 20022 Labs is a global membership organization committed to building awareness and adoption of the new standard. They give you the information and education you need to make better decisions throughout the transition process and the expertise you need to maximize all the benefits and new opportunities it offers. With 20022 Labs, we've already begun to explore the full capabilities of the new standard. We integrated the ISO 20022 standard into StrongholdNet, and we are working to make it more open and accessible for our developer community. So make sure you're ready. ISO 20022 opens great opportunities for faster, more efficient payments with smarter data-driven insights to fuel exponential growth and innovation. To learn more, check out the links below. And remember, mark your...
So basically, ISO 222 is the standard. So even if you're not wanting to be risky with buying cryptos, like you got risky cryptos, like you'll hear meme coins and stuff like Shiba Inu or whatever, risky. ISO 222 is going to tell you what the cryptos are going to be in our new financial system. So moving forward with that, I want to explain one of the biggest cryptos that everybody should be looking at right now. And going back, you can look up ISO 222 tokens. They'll tell you the ones that's going to be on our new, that's approved and that's going to be on our new financial system. one of the biggest cryptos that we're going to be using is XRP. It's the company Ripple's native token. And to give even more detail about that, the CTO of Ripple, well, he just resigned or retired. Name was David Schwartz. I'm gonna pull up my X account and show y'all, because y'all should be able to connect names and faces and stuff, so you know. Let me see. This guy right here, CTO of Ripple. Not only was he just retired last year. Not only was he the CTO of Ripple, he's the person that patented blockchain technology in 1988. So he the one who even came up with blockchain tech. Why would Ripple have him on their board? Why would they have him as a CTO? And I'm finna pull up the pen for you. Here's the pen right here. If you can see the under the little blue box, you see inventor David Schwartz. And in 1988 was a very interesting year. I ain't gonna go into that type of detail, but this is the pen, and it basically shows how blockchain works. If you ever, for future references for anybody, if y'all ever want to look up a patent and see who made it and all of this stuff, go to Google Patents. You can easily find who made what patent XYZ. Find out the years and all that. But David Schwartz. Also, you need to know who is the CEO of Ripple. It's Brad Garlinghouse. Come on, man. This guy, Brad Garlinghouse. And I'm saying these names because, and I know people don't typically do this, but use my blueprint, right? I got an X account. A lot of important information gets put on X. You're not going to find this information on Instagram, Facebook like that. The CEOs and stuff of the big companies, they have X accounts. And also, Elon Musk is going to make X the everything app. So you're going to be able to buy a car on X. You're going to be able to buy your house on X. You're going to be able to pay bills on X. It's going to be the everything. You're going to be able to order your food and stuff on X. He's making it the everything app. Guess who was a part of PayPal? Elon Musk. You know what he was trying to make? XPay. And I can pull that up. So everybody should be asking, what's the why X? Why does he name everything X? Because I could probably find a real old picture with him. This is how he got his money. Look at that. X.com. This is old news. This is a plan that's been set in play decades ago. The average person just don't know this. That's why Twitter is called X right now. And when I say XRP or XLM, it sounds like it got Elon Musk in it. What did he name his son? XAI. You got what is it? XAI. You got, he named so much stuff after X. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank in mind right now. But anyway, so what, and it's gonna be cryptos that's gonna pretty much be used for payments on the app X. But I wanted to kind of give y'all a blueprint to do if y'all haven't. I don't know if y'all got an X account or not, but I don't follow regular people on my X. I use X to keep up with information. So like usually I might wake up in the morning and I get on my X account so I can find out the real news that's happening around the world. So I'm following CEOs and stuff in China and stuff to get real information, not the stuff that they gonna tell you on the news. Um, and you can look at some of the random stuff. I got a plethora of different news things, but it be a lot of CEOs that be posting stuff, a lot of information, politicians. I'm understanding, like I said, I'm observing what they saying. And I'm observing how do these big companies respond to it, the XYZ. What are the CEOs saying? What the CTOs saying? Who all a part of the boards of the company? Now let me show you something else. Brad Garlinghouse was just at the White House because they're going to be this picture right here. You see that guy in the corner of the table? This was the crypto summit. I want to say, man, time flying. I want to say this happened last year. Why is Brad Garlinghouse at the crypto summit? You don't see the CEO, the founder of Ethereum there, Vitalik Buterin. You don't see Joseph Lubin there, thank Ethereum. You sure not gonna see Satoshi Nakamoto there, because he don't exist. Well, quote unquote. And you see on the left of Trump, that's Scott Bessent. That's our Treasury Secretary. So they've been talking about big money. They've been moving things in the dark and nobody keeping up with it. They don't know. Ripple also just chartered and became a bank. So now you have Ripple Bank. And I'm gonna play a video to explain, because again, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to explain to you why XRP is an important crypto, because XRP right now is worth come on. I know it's in here. Actually, I just type it in. It's like worth $1 and like 40 some cent. Yeah, $1.41 right now. Now, a lot of I've been in the crypto digital assets for years, and I was able to buy XRP when it was like I got it years ago when it was like I got it in the 20 cents, 20 some cent. Now it's $1.41. And I want everybody to realize that it's not about, because when we talk about investing and stuff, I'm gonna give you cryptos that's gonna provide real world utility. And this is what's gonna save you and help you make money in the long run. It's not about time in the market, like, well, I just put $50 in here today. When can I take my $50 out? When it hit 200 or what this, that, the other? It's not about time in the market. It's about the time in the market. So it's about how long you're in the market. Like I said, I bought XRP years ago at 20 some cent. Now it's $1.41. Its high was like $3 and something, right? So imagine how much I was able to accumulate when it was like 20 some cent. And what I noticed was a lot of people, the average person, once again, I don't care if you're a nurse, doctor, whatever occupation you in, they know nothing about money. And they're going to tell you, oh, that crypto stuff, that's stupid. I don't get it. None of it makes sense. I heard that's all for scams and they be sex trafficking and all that. This is from the propaganda that the big banks had put out. They're trying to get the average person to see crypto a certain way, and they're putting certain coins at the forefront that are definitely contributing that people are using for fraud, like Bitcoin. But the big banks and stuff, like people depend on Jamie Dimon to say stuff about crypto. Jamie Dimon thank JP Morgan. Jamie Dimon, if y'all go on my Instagram page, y'all will see I posted a video with him talking. And usually when the price is high and stuff, he's gonna tell everybody like, man, that's trash. I don't care if y'all, I don't see why people want to buy this trash XYZ. When it go down, that's when it start to crash, that's when he start changing his attitude and he started making, well, no, when it's up, he started kind of making it like, yeah, all this stuff good or XYZ. He switches his idea of it. But little do everybody know, this is what our new financial system is gonna be ran on. My Instagram, scroll down to one of my first videos, and you'll see Jamie Dimon. I'll show you what he looked like. Now I ain't gonna get into stupid detail, but I'm gonna tell you this: his wife is also Jewish. Um, yeah, one of the big faces. Let me. Oh yeah, I didn't even pick up my point about X. What I wanted to say. Follow CEOs, man. Follow. I'm gonna show you my who I'm following. Y'all may not know none of these people. I'm following companies, CEOs, and it helps me alleviate all of the frivolous thoughts. So I'm not picking up this and being like seeing like Tara just ate some cereal or something in the morning. Like I don't care what Cardi B was doing in the afternoon or who she with or whatever, because that's the type of talk that's not money talk. That's not big idea talk. And maybe that can be entertaining and stuff, and that's cool. But that's to keep you what they say, bread and games. So as long as you, and this is what they did with people in when they had the coliseums and stuff with all that fighting. As long as you get the people bread and games, they'll just shut up and they'll be stupid. That's why so many people know the stats of all these football players and basketball players, but they can't tell you how to get a credit score up, or they can't tell you what a Paydex 80 is. They can't tell you the five bureaus. They can't tell you about they their minds are just stagnant on one thing and not elevating. Find a lot of different CEOs and companies and stuff. See what broaden your mind, man. See what people really talking about and what's happening in the world. And I do that through my ex. So moving forward. All right. So let's say you actually, I'm probably getting ahead of myself. I need to explain to y'all, where do you buy crypto? It's a couple of different, you buy it from an exchange, right? And I know everybody on different levels of knowledge. An exchange is where you buy, let's say if you want to buy shares of a stock, you go to an exchange to buy it. So if I want to own parts of Amazon, I go to an exchange and I exchange my fake money, fiat, for shares of a company. Likewise, you go to, so you have exchanges that you can buy shares of companies in, and then you have crypto exchanges where you buy crypto from. So one of the exchanges I recommend is Coinbase. For the person that's new into crypto, get a Coinbase account. And I'll show you what the app look like. Get a Coinbase account. I think Coinbase is one of the most user-friendly apps. Once you go into like Uphold and stuff, they're good and all, but Coinbase very user-friendly. So all you gotta click is buy whatever. You can search whatever crypto. But I will say this. You may not be able to buy the crypto that you want on Coinbase because they may not have it listed. The companies have to go through a certain process and get approved to even be listed on Coinbase. Backtracking. Coinbase didn't file to be a part of JP Morgan. JP Morgan filed to have their coin on Coinbase. So what do that tell you? We're in a new financial system, y'all. So that's how you buy it. You go to an exchange. And you saw here a few exchanges. You got Binance, Kraken, Crypto.com, Gemini. Gemini actually came out with a credit card. So now people can get a Gemini credit card and get rewards in crypto. So say you can get 4% back in XRP for your payments. So even the rewards change. You able to get rewards in crypto with your credit cards now if you file to get their stuff. So once you buy your crypto, which like I said, you make an account, buy it. You need to know how to keep your crypto safe. Rule of thumb, you never keep your crypto on the exchange. You only put your crypto on the exchange when you're trying to sell it and you're trying to cash out for a US dollar or you're trying to convert it into another crypto. So say you want to convert your Bitcoin into Ethereum or your Ethereum into XRP or to XLM. You do all of that on the exchange. But once you do that, you want to keep your stuff safe and you want to put it on a hot or a cold wallet. So a hot wallet is basically a digital wallet. And let me see, can I pull up one of my hot wallets? So one of my hot wallets is Exodus. I don't really have none on here, but this is what you keep. So this is like your purse. It has a 12 phrase passcode, and it's hard for people to hack. A hot wallet has 12 seed phrases, and a cold wallet, which is when you think cold wallet, think of a hard wallet. So think hardware like this. This is a Ledger wallet, that little USB drive looking thing. And it's going to give you 24 words like this. You're going to record it down on a sheet of paper. And let's say that you put 100 million on your Ledger, your cold storage, right? What if you lose your cold storage, your wallet? How do you get your money? All you have to do is get another Ledger wallet, and you can recover your account, your wallet, by having your 24 seed phrase, your passcode basically, and you'll end up restoring your whole wallet. You never give anybody your seed phrases. Never, with a hot wallet or a cold wallet. Nobody should know that except you, because that's how, if somebody else had it, they can gain access into your cold storage or hot wallet. That's how you store it. And basically, the way it works is think like a messaging system, right? So if I want to send XRP to another wallet, because I got a Bifrost wallet as well, I got different hot wallets. But let's say if I want to send this over. Let me see. I'm trying to pull up I'm sending it. Actually, let me receive. All right, y'all see under where it says your XRP address? That's my public address. So think like your Cash App name, right? Let's say my Cash App name at 8th Promise or whatever. That's what that is. Everybody can have access to my Cash App name. That's like your public keys. So anybody can send you money on Cash App, but you don't want people to be able to take money from your Cash App account. That's when we start talking about private keys. I got a slide for that. So your private keys are never to be shared. Your public keys is like a public address or like your email address. You can share that with anybody. That don't mean that they can have access to your emails. But likewise, your private key is more like your email password that helps you get access to be able to view your emails. And I got a couple of other videos that I want to play y'all because I'm going. What time it is? I want to show y'all what smart contracts is and how it's going to be implemented in the system. But I'm going to show you another video explaining about XRP and Ripple real quick.
What is Ripple? In the world of cryptocurrency, Ripple is known as the project that, unlike Bitcoin, wants to collaborate with banks. Ripple is a protocol that makes international transfers quicker and cheaper. Let's say you have a Polish neighbor who has to work hard every day to support his family in Poland. He sends his money to Poland weekly so they can afford rent and groceries. The international money transaction is to this day a slow and expensive process. In some cases, it can take days for the money to arrive. In addition to that, you also have to give a few percentages to the banks that arrange everything for you. That's how a significant part of your Polish neighbor's salary does not end up with his family, but in the pockets of the rich bankers. Luckily, there is a solution. The Ripple protocol and its XRP token. The idea is to make international payments with the XRP token as quick and easy as sending an email. You can see the XRP token as a bridge between different banks, countries, and currencies. Normally, the Polish neighbor's hard-earned euros have to be exchanged for American dollars in order to get them on the Polish relatives' bank accounts in Polish złoty. Every intermediate step costs time and money. The XRP token solves this by acting as a bridge currency. The Ripple protocol converts behind the scenes the Polish neighbor's euros into XRP and then exchanges these for Polish złoty. This saves an intermediate step, is very fast, and costs a lot less money. Moreover, it is important to make a distinction between Ripple Labs and the XRP token. Ripple Labs is the company and the XRP token is the product. What is the difference between Bitcoin and XRP? In contrary to Bitcoin, it is not possible to mine on the Ripple blockchain. Ripple Labs has created 100 billion tokens. More than half of this is still kept in a digital safe. To verify transactions and spread new coins, Ripple uses a completely different method than Bitcoin. This is possible because the network of Ripple is arranged differently than the Bitcoin blockchain. Ripple has most likely done this to be quicker and more effective. Ripple wants to compete with banks and other payment providers, and they process 1 million transactions a day. Ripple is also a lot more sustainable because it does not cost any power to mine new blocks. At Bitcoin, there are 100,000 computers working the whole day to produce new blocks. This is not the case for Ripple. If Ripple is a good investment, we'll have to find out. But if you want to learn more about the world of cryptocurrency...
All right, so that's kind of like a little brief explanation in the XRP and Ripple. So what's the real world utility of XRP? It costs fractions of a penny to send. So if I want to make a 20, even if it's $100 million. Fractions of a penny for me to even send it. So, and I didn't even explain how it works on a blockchain when you send in money. So basically, XRP moves on the XRP ledger. Remember, blockchain, ledger of information. So in order for you to be able to send XRP, it has to be on the XRP ledger. Each crypto has its own type of blockchain. So let's say that I want to send somebody XRP, right? It's going to need gas like a vehicle. So let's, in this example, let's say that XRP is a 18-wheeler. In order to get from my wallet to the next person wallet in the transaction, it's going to need gas to get there. So like in order for you to get to work from home, you need gas in your car, right? So the gas fee is basically, it's going to burn off a percentage of the token. So let's say that you got 1 XRP in your account and you want to send it. You're not going to be able to send that full 1 XRP because a percentage of a small, very small percentage of it is going to get burnt off. And that's what makes XRP deflationary, not inflationary. So our government system, when they print off all of this fake money and stuff, that's inflationary. It's only 100 billion XRP that exists, and that's ever going to exist. They're not going to be able to create anymore or whatever. It can only be burnt through transactions. And if the banks are using that constantly to make transactions and move money, the price is going to exponentially go up over time because it's deflationary. Once the supply goes down, because it's going to get burnt off through transactions, the price of it is going to go up automatically. So kind of give you a brief input of inflationary versus deflationary. An inflationary token could be something like, let's say that somebody creates a crypto, right? And they have so much of it, but they only put so much on the market. So let's say that I own 90% of Markcoin, right? And I let 10% of that coin go on the market so everybody can buy it. I can keep injecting that Markcoin onto the market, and supply and demand. If you have way more supply than demand, it's not going to ever go up in price like that. So that's in a nutshell pretty much what an inflationary token is like versus a deflationary. I'm going to play y'all one more video with XRP, and y'all can see how important it's going to be with our financial system. And you're going to see all the banks that XRP has, well, Ripple has already been doing deals with and having on their systems in the dark.
Do I hold XRP? Because Ripple's the chosen one to lead the new global digital payment system, and they use XRP. In 2013, the Federal Reserve began looking for faster payments options. 2 years later, an action plan was born and a federal payments task force was created. It included one company focused on crypto, Ripple. In 2014, the World Bank and Better Than Cash Alliance, which includes the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Clinton Global Initiative, and the governments of 32 countries, put out a report called The Opportunities of Digitizing Payments. 1 year later, the Better Than Cash Alliance featured one crypto company on their website, Ripple. Today, Better Than Cash Alliance and all other UN initiatives are focused on a single agenda, the Sustainable Development Goals for 2030. You can see the SDGs logo on Bill Gates' lapel, world-leading companies, the Better Than Cash Alliance website, and on the UN's official exchange, Exchange. What crypto is Exchange officially utilizing for their carbon credit solution? XRP. The world will move to a new international standard for exchanging electronic messages between financial institutions by 2025 called ISO 20022. Who was the first ISO 2022 member focused on distributed ledger technology, Ripple, who's partnered with over 300 financial institutions, including Bank of America, American Express, PNC, Santander, SBI, HSBC, Standard Chartered Bank, Bank of England, India, Singapore, Scotland, Australia, and Indonesia, the largest banks in Japan, Canada, Egypt, the Middle East, United Arab Emirates, Thailand, Morocco, Bhutan, South Korea, Brazil, and Latin America, Ripple, who is a former employee overseeing the Federal Reserve, Ripple, a former employee overseeing the world's largest asset manager, BlackRock's digital asset division, Ripple, leading Australia's CBDC effort, Ripple, who hired a former Treasury of the United States, Ripple, 2 former Federal Reserve attorneys to their board, Ripple, 2 former Clinton and Obama advisors, former Minister of Defense and Economics of Germany, former business director at SWIFT, former SWIFT board member, former CFO of PayPal, former head of the DTCC, former chief business officer at Uber, former VP of Amazon, and former SEC chair on their legal team, Ripple, who's a member of the Digital Pound Foundation, Digital Dollar Project, Digital Euro Association, Mojaloop, IMF's high-level advisory board on fintech, Hyperledger Blockchain Consortium, Open Payments Coalition, Faster Payments Council, Global Payments Steering Group, Cross-Border Working Group, International Association for Trusted Blockchain Applications, Crypto Climate Accord, University Blockchain Initiative, World Wide Web Consortium, and a featured partner of the World Economic Forum with 3 members of their team directly listed on the WF website, Ripple. Now, does Ripple and XRP sound like they're going to be...
Hey, somebody mic on. Y'all mute yourself. Appreciate it. All right, so Ripple is partnering with buku banks around the world. Tell me how many banks are partnering with Bitcoin right now. Bitcoin don't even have a representative. And I'm not even finna go into Ethereum because they still hiring people and having them rewrite they system and stuff because it's not working. When you think Ethereum, think smart contracts. This is how you're going to be able to buy a car, or even when you want to say ownership and stuff on the blockchain, you need to think smart contracts. Here go a quick video that kind of explain what smart contracts are.
Both the product team. Smart contracts are very popular nowadays, but what are they and what problems do they solve? The term smart contract was first used by Nick Szabo in 1997, long before Bitcoin was created. He is a computer scientist, law scholar, and cryptographer, so I'll spare you his exact words, but in simple terms, he wanted to use a distributed ledger to store contracts. Now, smart contracts are just like contracts in the real world. The only difference is that they are completely digital. In fact, a smart contract is actually a tiny computer program that is stored inside of a blockchain. Let's take a look at an example to understand how smart contracts work. You probably are familiar with Kickstarter, the large fundraising platform. Product teams can go to Kickstarter, create a project, set a funding goal, and start collecting money from others who believe in the idea. Kickstarter is essentially a third party that sits in between product teams and supporters. This means that both of them need to trust Kickstarter to handle their money correctly. If the project gets successfully funded, the project team expects Kickstarter to give them their money. On the other hand, supporters want their money to go to the project if it was funded, or to get a refund when it hasn't reached its goals. Both the product team and its supporters have to trust Kickstarter. But with smart contracts, we can build a similar system that doesn't require a third party like Kickstarter. So let's create a smart contract for this. We can program the smart contract so that it holds all the received funds until a certain goal is reached. The supporters of a project can now transfer their money to the smart contract. If the project gets fully funded, the contract automatically passes the money to the creator of the project. And if the project fails to meet these goals, then the money automatically goes back to the supporters. Pretty awesome, right? And because smart contracts are stored inside a blockchain, everything is completely distributed. With this technique, no one is in control of the money. But wait a minute, why should we trust a smart contract? Well, because smart contracts are stored on a blockchain, they inherit some interesting properties. They are immutable and they are distributed. Being immutable means that once a smart contract is created, it can never be changed again. So no one can go behind your back and tamper with the code of your contract. And being distributed means that the output of your contract is validated by everyone on the network. So a single person cannot force the contract to release the funds because other people on the network will spot this attempt and mark it as invalid. Tampering with smart contracts becomes almost impossible. Smart contracts can be applied to many different things, not just on crowdfunding. Banks, for example, could use it to issue loans or to offer automatic payments. Insurance companies could use it to process certain claims, and postal companies could use it for payment on delivery, and so on and so on. So now you might wonder, where and how can I use smart contracts? Well, right now there are a handful of blockchains who support smart contracts, but the biggest one is Ethereum. It was specifically created and designed to support smart contracts. Smart contracts can be programmed in a special programming language called Solidity. This language was specifically created for Ethereum and uses a syntax that resembles JavaScript. It's also worth noting that Bitcoin also has support for smart contracts, although it's a lot more limited compared to Ethereum. So now you know what smart contracts are and what problems they solve. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, hit the like button and get some.
Okay, that's a real brief introduction into smart contracts. So, you know, when you buying a house, you got to go through your process or whatever, all that paperwork or whatever. Now, all of that information is going to be digitized into smart contracts. So, I don't have to know that Ray Vet is 25 or however old to rent a car. It's already on your file. And the smart contract to pick up all that information to even know if it can even process that transaction based off of who programs the smart contracts and what requirements that they want that have to be met in those smart contracts. Now, in this video, it was telling y'all that Ethereum is going to be the one that is one of the main ones for smart contracts, right? But you should not trust Ethereum. That's an even longer story, but don't trust Ethereum. I want y'all, when it comes to smart contracts, because when we talk about real world utility, it's not going to just be one winner with crypto. It's not going to be just one crypto that's giving people utility with everything. It's going to be multiple winners. So Flare, here's a video about it.
Today,
Basically what happens is with Flare, it's another crypto that deals with smart contracts. Now, XRP is just sending money, right? You can send however much, you don't need that third party, basically. But in order for XRP to implement smart contracts, it basically has to do business with a blockchain that conducts smart contracts. So basically, in layman's terms, XRP need a teammate to conduct smart contracts. So this is just a little bit of information in Flare. So X out Ethereum and look at Flare. And right now, Flare is like less than a penny. And it also has another testnet coin called Songbird. It's all on the Canary network. So it's on the Flare network.
the total value of all public blockchain assets is approximately $1 trillion. However, more than 70% of this value is made up of tokens from blockchains that can't support smart contracts, a critical requirement for decentralized applications. The F-Asset system, developed by Flare Labs, allows these assets, such as Bitcoin, XRP, and Dogecoin, to be used trustlessly in smart contracts on Flare. Minting these tokens as F-Assets enables them to earn rewards in DeFi and other types of decentralized applications. Once the F-Assets are minted on Flare, they can also be bridged to other networks using LayerCake. For developers, This means secure, trustless access to a vast amount of currently untapped value and new potential users. To securely represent these assets on a smart contract chain without requiring a centralized third party, the F-Asset system relies upon Flare's native data acquisition protocols. Firstly, the Flare Time Series Oracle for decentralized price feeds, and secondly, the Stake Connector for trustless verification of transactions on the underlying chain. F-Assets are backed by 3 asset types: the underlying, Flare native token collateral, and either stablecoin or wrapped Ether collateral. The process of minting and redeeming F-Assets is supported by independent agents. Their role in the system is secured through over-collateralization, removing the need to trust any counterparty. To mint F-Assets, the minter must first select an agent and pay them a small fee to reserve the required collateral. The minter then sends the agent the underlying asset, with the stake connector used to prove the transaction has taken place on the other chain. With the payment verified, the F-Assets are then minted as ERC20 tokens on Flare. These tokens can be used within DeFi on Flare or bridged to another chain. F-Assets unlocks the value of non-smart contract tokens. Unlike many wrapped asset systems, F-Assets are trustless, meaning there's no centralized entity involved in the process. Holders of F-Assets on Flare will also earn FLR from the cross-chain incentive pool for bringing value onto the Flare network.
Very rough explanation of the smart contracts with Flare. Let me see. So where I want to go after the smart contracts. Basically, it's gonna be like I told y'all that XRP only moves on the XRP ledger. But if you want to move XRP onto another network or another blockchain, you need what you call pretty much like a taxi. So in this scenario with Flare, Flare would be enacting as a taxi. So Flare, the token, will basically bridge those blockchains, those assets. So Flare would pick up XRP and then bring XRP onto the Flare network, where it can then have like the capabilities of using smart contracts. So that's when you again going into like buying a house and whatever, you have to have certain qualifications or XYZ. All of that can be programmed on the Flare smart contracts on the Flare network. And the big money is from XRP. So big money being sent and put on the Flare network, basically. Let's see. I told y'all what ISO 222 is. Told y'all about smart contracts, crypto, how to buy it. Let's see if it's anything that I'm missing. Because I don't know where y'all at mentally right now. If I didn't already gave y'all way too much information. I'm trying to kind of not get too detailed and just hit the basics. Oh yeah, something else that y'all should know. Let me go back to my X account. When we talk about crypto, you want to know the main people who are regulating crypto. So in the US, you have the SEC and you have the CFTC. The SEC is the Securities Trade Commission. Remember, I told y'all want to follow these people. Make an X account and follow all of these different government entities, the CEOs, CTOs, whoever. You want to break down a company to the T before you like really put big money in it. You really want to know what you're investing in. So the Securities Exchange Commission pretty much, they have jurisdiction and they set the rules for securities. So like Amazon, think companies, they set the rules for those. The the regulation for crypto is still being formed and made. And so like with the, as far as jurisdiction, what government entity like has jurisdiction over it is not really, it's kind of like a gray area. Don't let that discourage you from buying it though, because it's a lot of politics that's going on and a lot of, they commit a lot of fraud within itself. So you want to know who the the SEC is, and I just showed you, this is the new head chairman of the SEC, Paul Atkins. He just came in last year. No, it might have been, yeah, it was last year. Paul Atkins just stepped up. At first, it was Gary Gensler. We can go down a whole rabbit hole with all that, but you need to know Paul Atkins, head SEC chairman. Then we need to go to the CFTC. The CFTC pretty much monitors like future trading, and you got your commodities. And the new CFTC chairman is Michael Selig. It was Carolyn Fong. So when we talk about regulation with gold and silver, futures, all that stuff, thank CFTC. They're the ones who regulate that. Let me see if I follow Michael Selig so I can connect the name. This guy right here, he's the head chairman now of the CFTC. They're going to be the ones who make the rules with how the game is being played. That's why you want to follow these people, because you want to see what type of tone they have, what they saying, because that in return has a effect on the market. They can be like, well, we finna make this whatever rule, and it can make your crypto go down just like that. You want to know who got their hands in the chairman's pockets. So it's very, at least for me, my vetting process is pretty detailed, and I've been doing it for years. So I can just tell you a name and tell you what they're doing and how it affect whatever, because I know the names, I know the entities they with, and I know how to connect the dots, and I can show you a whole, board full of stuff like that. But you want to know this stuff when you invest in, when you really invest in. And like I say with crypto, when you invest in, it's a difference, and the average person don't know this. A lot of people come to me being like, they treat investing like it's sports gambling. It's two completely, this not the casino. This not, and they didn't start changing up what they call sports gambling. I mean, gambling in general. Now they say the prediction market. So if y'all saw when I opened up my Coinbase earlier, they have a new tab. Y'all see that in the middle under derivatives? It say predictions. So they even been changing up the words of what stuff really is over time, and the average person not even able to grasp what's going on. But all the prediction market is gambling. Everything, like I said, is going to be put on the blockchain, and right now, BlackRock is funding it. Dang, what's the name of that? StockX, I think. No, Texas Stock Exchange. And so what they're doing right now is, like I said, putting everything on the blockchain. So even stocks are going to be tokenized. So what that does is do some research on the Texas Stock Exchange. They're going to digitize the stock market. And when they do that, which they're doing right now, that opens up the floodgates where money doesn't shut down. Money is going to be moving at the speed of light all day, every day. So, like, you know how the market shut down? Like, if you invested in stocks or, you know, you looking at your 401k, whatever, the market shut down at a certain time here. And then it opens up across seas at another time, and they start day trading day. But when the stocks are tokenized, nothing's ever gonna get shut down. So like, um, let's say that you needed to do business with the bank or whatever, and you need 50 million or whatever to do XYZ. You're not gonna have to wait after the weekend till the bank open back up or whatever. Everything is gonna be live. It's never gonna shut down. Let me go to the official site. Henceforth, you're gonna have trillions, quadrillions moving perpetually, non-stop. And so that also opens up the opportunity to even make more money. Yeah, a lot of people don't know about the Texas Stock Exchange. Like I say, BlackRock, which is another big bank, they've been funding the Texas Stock Exchange in Dallas, Texas. Yeah, I think I'm gonna kind of cut it off right there. I didn't gave you a good bit of, like I say, I don't want to flood y'all with too much. Oh, actually, I can tell you something else. So y'all know how I showed y'all the crypto address, like how it's like a long address. You can go to a site called Unstoppable Domains, and you can buy your domain address. So let's say that, so for XRP, it has a specific address, and you can only send XRP on the XRP ledger, unless if you get a bridge token and you transition it from that ledger to a different ledger, like let's say Flare, and that's going to have a whole different type of address. You can't send XRP on the Flare on a Flare address. So let me try to give y'all a visual. It's not gonna let me show y'all this way. But basically, you have to notice, send XRP on the XRP ledger. You don't send Ethereum to a XRP address. You don't send XRP to an Ethereum address. If you do, you just gonna lose your money. And the Unstoppable Domains, it pretty much lets you buy a domain, and you can connect all of your addresses. So when somebody want to send you something, you can make up a domain name like Red Fox, and as long as they put in Red Fox, it can have all of your accounts, your addresses on that. So it can have your Ethereum address, your XRP address, so on and so forth. And all you need to tie it to it is just having that Unstoppable domain name. And you can buy other companies' domain names right now on here. I own a couple of colleges' domain addresses, and I can sell it back to them if they want it. Because in the future, when everybody start using uh this crypto technology, well, crypto in general, they gonna probably want their domain name. Because if somebody else just send it to them, they gonna be sending it to me because I own it. So you can look at different let's see, this kind of like the .com boom when people was buying different domains for that. See what the price is hitting on for you. All right. They unavailable basically, but you can see how well it's protected. So they already own that Nike.crypto, Nike.wallet. But you paying big prices to even try to own one of these big name brands domain address. I would stick to buying crypto at a low price. Going back to the crypto, I'm finna show y'all a couple that you should look into. So XRP is gonna be like the new gold. Even though it's not replacing gold, it's gonna be the digital version of gold. It's gonna be what the banks use. XLM, Stellar Lumens, is gonna be like the new world silver, the digital silver in a sense. So that's what the retailers are gonna use. The big banks are gonna use XRP mostly. The regular person, they'll be using Stellar Lumens for they retail purposes. So going to the store and stuff or whatever, Stellar, new silver. Songbird right now, thank you smart contracts on the Flare network, it's less than a penny. You can buy a whole lot of Songbird right now. You can buy a whole lot of Flare right now. It's less than a penny. And like I gave y'all ISO 222 tokens. Look that up. It's gonna give you a list of different tokens that you can buy. I hadn't got into like the different frauds detail with why I don't trust Buku tokens. That's a whole nother, it's a detailed class if I even did that. But look into Hedera. Sorry. Look into Hedera, 10 cent. VeChain won bad the last time out. XDC, that's gonna be another important one. This one right here, 3 cent right now. Going back to XRP, I tell people this all the time. Like I said earlier, it's not about time in the market. So if you put $50 in a day, you shouldn't be asking why my stuff ain't went to $100 next year or whatever. It's about the time in the market. I told you years ago, I bought it for 20 some cent, and you see where it's at right now because I knew what I was holding. XRP is going to be a 4+ digit dollar asset. So XRP, when you calculate all of the value and how the world is really gonna be using it, this is $1,000+ asset. So it's gonna be worth thousands in the future, very near future. Because when they flip the switch and they tell everybody like, all right, this is what we own, you gonna see this price of this, it's gonna skyrocket like crazy. And that's when you start hearing everybody send you the phone calls and messages like what I need to put my money in. That's the herd mentality. Everybody talk about it when the price up, but when the price down like it is now and it's low, nobody is gonna mention it. So I recommend looking into XRP, look into Songbird, Flare, XDC, Stellar, Hedera, Casper. Look into all those for starters. And I recommend if you want to buy something, start off with that. You don't need a million different cryptocurrencies. You only need the ones that the world is actually gonna be using. Like you don't need 50 different coins in your basket. Pay attention to the important ones. And right now you can get it at a low price. So like I said, it's a very opportune moment for everybody. Yeah, I'm finna kind of conclude everything. Let me see. Anybody, I'm kind of going through y'all questions now. If y'all had some, if y'all got some, y'all can unmute yourself or whatever and ask a question. It's a small enough class. Oh.
Okay. Hey, Mark.
Uh-huh.
Sorry I'm late. Better late than never. But yeah. So regarding obviously XRP went through that whole SEC thing. My mate was actually his neighbor. He said that Gary Gensler was an idiot. But regarding the fact that it was pre-mined, like the XRP, does that make a difference? Because I was listening to some of these people talking about Bitcoin and how Bitcoin was originally created to be peer-to-peer cash, wasn't it? And then it got hijacked, and then they messed around with it and said it was going to be some sort, something to hold on to, and they basically hijacked it. But in that ecosystem, there's two others. There's Bitcoin Cash and BSV. Now, Roger Ver wrote a book called Hijacking Bitcoin. And then outside of that, then is BSV. Now, because I came in and you were talking about the smart contracts and the data and all that kind of stuff. BSV, he took them to court in Britain. And because when you listen to McAfee, who they killed over in Spain, he said, if they find me dead, I didn't commit suicide. And he found loads of dirt, as we all know, on on your government and everything. But he was basically saying that the original, like, who is Satoshi? And he was saying about, if you read the white paper, you could see that it was written in English style. And there were only two British people there at that time that could have been the people. And Craig Wright was the one that went to the British courts and said, I am Satoshi. Now, BSV can handle data. It is the original Bitcoin. And it's now going into Terranode. So I don't think we want to rule out some of the ecosystem that created the blockchain and the peer-to-peer cash. Now, what they were saying was that some of these tokens have been pre-mined, and with this Clarity Act, and there's another one, isn't there? There's the Clarity Act, and what's the other one?
Genius.
Yeah, the Genius Act. Yeah. Those. So the one's already in place, isn't it? But then the Genius is coming in, and they were saying something about those that like try and change. Like, it's all setting in stone now, isn't it? However you've put your foot into this ecosystem going forward, those that are like the Cardanos and your Algorands and all the ones that you've mentioned, your Hederas, your XDC, all of the your XRP, all of them. But does pre-mining, and something that's definitely a commodity, but does a pre-mine make a difference on the actual, when they're bringing out all these new acts, will that make a difference?
Does the pre-mining?
Yeah, because
you're not going to be, in the example with XRP, you're not going to be mining for XRP. That's,
the fact with these new acts, though, isn't it? Because of the act, the Genius Act. Someone made a joke that the Genius Act is, because at the moment it's all tied to this. I'm not the smartest man in the room, but they've tied it all to Tether, haven't they? But Tether's just literally working the money printers with the fiat, so it's all still a little bit fiat.
Tether is a stable coin, by the way, y'all. A stable coin is basically a coin that's supposed to stay stable. So if someone says if someone like the US dollar, right?
Yeah.
$1 is not supposed to fluctuate and go to 98 cents back up to $1. It's stable. It's supposed to be stable at $1. The problem with Tether, which is considered a stable coin, and that's one of the big topics in the crypto industry now, that they trying to make regulations on. The problem with it is they've been making more Tether, and they make Tether out of thin air, like how we talk about the US dollar, and all of that money basically has been going into Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is really not the price it should be right now, and nobody has audited Tether. But that's a whole deeper topic.
Well, they said that's the Genius Act, isn't it? They just like they've got the money printers on with Tether.
Yeah, and that deals with a lot of FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried, the guy who just got arrested.
Yeah, but what I was hearing though was because BSV it has created a token now which is called Money, MNEE, and once that because I think what they were saying about the Bitcoin and everything, that whole ecosystem, is it's all predicated on the mining, isn't it? And when the miners see that there's a better ecosystem for them to go, they'll just go. And then I think McAfee and what was that other guy, the billionaire from what's that
Sailor?
No, not that idiot.
Peter Thiel?
He lives in Scotland now, but he's from East LA. He shouts. He's been to Antarctica and that. He's a real character. He's friends with Trump. He was one of Trump's biggest donors. Let me just. But he was even saying Bitcoin's going to go to zero. He said when people find out who made it, it's going to.
Oh yeah, I know the guy you're talking about. He older white dude.
Yeah, little guy, but he's got big balls, big as Luna's. He's the right character, right? Okay, and then so one other thing I've got to ask is I was looking at quant because I've heard about quant and there isn't much of it, is there? But then I was thinking like if you buy, I've always thought that about XRP as well. If I buy the token, how will you or I, if I invest in it, how will I earn from that? Like, because I understand peer-to-peer cash and how that kind of functions, but what is the, because I can see the attractiveness of owning quant because there isn't much of it, is there?
So basically, and I'm about to answer that question, and I didn't say this throughout the class. Basically, when you buying crypto, you're basically buying into the network. So like when you buy shares of a company, you're buying pieces of that company. Buying crypto is in result the same thing. You're buying a fraction of the network actually. So when I told y'all about Flare Networks, when you buy Flare, the token, you're buying into the network and having ownership, a piece of the network, basically.
Got it. So like when you said about like the .com, it's almost like we're at that place again where we're owning like shares of a company, as it were.
Exactly. And for the question that you asked, like how do you, it's going to be multiple ways. So like, let's say if you own XRP and you're going to have staking, which is like a more detailed conversation. I know this one-on-one. I don't want to confuse y'all. You'll be able to have yield. So let's say even with let Flare for an example, right? When I told y'all that you can only use XRP on the XRP ledger, in order to switch XRP and take it to a different ledger or network, it's going to need a taxiway or bridge. So Flare would grab XRP and bring it on this network, and it can implement XRP can then have the components or aspects of smart contracts. Now, it's going to need someone else's tokens to be able to take XRP to the Flare network. So what people are going to end up doing is, and this is another thing that's that they touching on regulating, is the yield that you can get from it. So let's say that I have 50 million Flare tokens, and it's going to be a lot of people that want to use XRP for smart contracts, but they don't own any Flare. So I can pretty much use my Flare, lock it up in a sense, and from them making their transactions and stuff using the XRP on the Flare network, I'm going to be able to get a percentage of it because they were using my Flare to take their XRP onto the Flare network. So you can pretty much use your tokens for yield to make money as well. And that's a that's a little bit more detailed topic. That's when you start talking about staking and all that other stuff. Do that kind of answer your question, Zish? Like how is it? Because there's going to be multiple ways that you'll be able to make.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It kind of does. Yes, I get it. I got it. As soon as you said it, my brain just clicked, and you said one thing, and I was like, oh, it's like owning a share of a company. because like you look at Hedera and stuff, and like all the big players, like all the big companies around the world are in that, aren't they? It's quite
Yeah.
interesting. Another interesting one is Swift. It's not really talked about much, but I've played around with it, and that's quite interesting because it's owned by Draper Dragon. And Draper Dragon is one of these people that bought a lot of the government's coins from the Mount Gox or something.
Mount Gox. Yeah.
Yeah, they bought
That's
a
when
load.
we start talking about Bitcoin and JP Morgan, actually, because JP Morgan funded Mount Gox. And
Right.
it wasn't actually in Japan, like they say.
Right. Interesting. Well, and Draper puts a lot of money into new startups, but I think he's like, even his name, like Draper Dragon, is like it's like everything about him and his company Swift is quite interesting. He's definitely a big player in, but then you want to find out if he's connected to Epstein, then, though, isn't it? That's the thing.
That's and what Zish is saying right now is one of the big conundrums in the crypto community. All of these Epstein files that came out, and I want y'all to think about 401ks and the stock market and all of this. I know y'all saw it was Pam Bundy or something that said if they released the people that was really involved with the Epstein stuff, the markets are gonna crash like crazy. Why? Because what happened when you find out that the CEO or the person that owned Walmart or Jeff Bezos and Amazon is on that list? What do you think the people who own that stock or shares in that stock are going to do? They're going to pull it out. So all of that money, let's say that you be like, okay, Amazon is a blue chip stock, and your financial advisor told you to buy it because it's safe. That's gonna crash everything. So, and a lot of people I know for sure in America, they use their 401ks as a source of retirement. What happens when the market crashes because of this? It's gonna be a lot of people, regular people, out of money, because the millionaires and the billionaires, they already know what time it is, and you better believe that they're gonna pull their money out before the average person even know about it. So that's why the Epstein file stuff is very important. That's why the Bitcoin stuff is very important, because what happens when people find out that the big banks were involved with the Epstein stuff? Stuff starts to fail.
Dan Pena is the guy that said it was going to go to zero. But an interesting thing I seen the other day.
I got that video too, by the way, of him talking about that.
I seen an interesting thing the other day. They were going through the Epstein files, and he did say he was worried about XRP and the Jed McCaleb or whatever that's now gone into the XLM, isn't it? He was concerned. So I don't think they were actually involved. It was almost like it was competition at that time when he was working in the blockchain. So
we're gonna have to have a separate conversation on all that, Zish, because that conversation gonna go over a lot of people in this
oh yeah, so yeah, my apologies. I think it's like 2 a.m. here, so my apologies for rambling.
And by the way, y'all, and no worries. By the way, Zish is a whiz at the class wrapped up right now. So if y'all want to stay in or not, class over with. But I just want to say, Zish is like a whiz, very astute with technology, health, natural remedies, all of that type of stuff. They shadow banned his Instagram, just like my Instagram and my social media is a shadow banned right now. But you can follow Zish. Say your Instagram name or your Facebook.
Oh yeah, okay, 1 second. I think it's Zish. 1 second, Zish Tech Iron. So it's T. 1 second. Oh, thank you. Zish Tech Iron, TEK, and then Chiron, CHIRON. Zish Tech Iron.
And you'll see. I'll
write it in the comments. I'll write it in the comments.
Oh yeah, that's even better. Yeah, put it in the comments. Follow Zeesh. If you got a volley ray machine beside you by any chance,
Oh yeah, yeah. This
I
one
want
here.
you to show everybody this in the chat and give them an explanation
Should I fire
of
it up?
what it does.
Okay, so all right. Okay, so this is one. Here's one I made earlier. Wait there. Let me see if I can get a light. Give me a minute. Just get a light.
This is a healing technology. Thank Nikola Tesla.
1 second. You got a tool?
And I have a volley ray machine myself, and I use it. Like let's say you got a wrist sprain. Man, it helped heal so much stuff. It deals with the ache. But I'm gonna let Zeesh the whiz with all of that, and he gonna be able to give you like crazy detail. Because this stuff that people don't know exists, and it's been existing for hundred something years.
Yeah, so this is a Falmer. This is a German Falmer from Leipzig, Germany. So this technology was used. So in Chicago, I guess most of you here are from America. In Chicago, they had a school of high frequency, and around 1911, Tesla and they had a college, and they were sharing about what happened. There was Tesla, Edison, and Westinghouse. Westinghouse was good. Edison was like a thief. Marconi was like a thief, and Tesla was like an OG. There was also a guy called H.G. Fisher. Now, what happened with Tesla is he healed a lady's cancer with like an X-ray tube, like a tube, like this. And they were like, well, was it the X-ray tube or was it the high frequency? And they worked out it was the high frequency. So then from what happened in Chicago, it created a whole renaissance where Germany got inspired, Czechoslovakia got inspired, Japan, England, like the whole world was like inspired by, but it all birthed out of Detroit and Chicago. So in these sets, like you had the chiropractor would use this set. Up until this point, they had these large mahogany units, which were for diathermy. But then the Tesla coil came out. So there's a Tesla coil in there, and there's a Tesla coil in the machine. This particular machine's actually got a horse on it. It's got like a horse with like lightning bolts. I don't know if you can see it. Maybe not. My light's not very good. But so you had all your gynecological surface electrodes, heart spirals, inhalation. They'd use pine needle and eucalyptus in there to breathe. This is to kind of create a lock, because all this technology is based on raw ether. So that's the energy.
Explain them, yeah, what the ether is.
So the ether, up until like in this time, when you read the literature, you can go to there's a college, an electrotherapy museum in Fort Lauderdale, and he's got an archive.org electrotherapy museum. You can go there and read the original literature. But back then, ether was a primary element that they all talked about like it was normal, like it was water. They talked about it like it was the primary element. So when they looked at you, they looked at this like magnetic homeopathy, and there were homeopathic colleges all over America. The focus on this was strength, health, and beauty. And when they talk about this, you hear today, I think the new age has hijacked a lot of this with all these buzzwords and stuff. And I associate myself, I'm not the smartest man in the room, but I do associate myself with, you know, like young wizards that were in like San Francisco, and they were tapping, you know, they were playing with crystal radios, and then they were tapping into like the navel and all that stuff, because before the satellite came in, you had proper amazing American-made radio, and it was just the best. And they had these amazing tubes, and they were making the best amplifiers. And this guy called Eric Dollard was working at I think it was Western Electric or General Electric, one of the two. I think it was Western Electric, and they were building these amazing things. And then back then, Soros's boys came in, smashed it all up, and he was trying to stash it all around San Francisco and stuff. And then the Greenpeace people came in. But these people are like, they talk about ether and analog, because we're now in the psyop of digital. So the reason I got into this was because of the geoengineering that's happening, and I had to ask myself, well, what is magnetism? Who was Nikola Tesla? Why are they geoengineering this? And I needed to find some solutions, and I ended up having to go back in time. But I was fortunate to find a professor out of Britain. He worked at the Imperial College of London, and he wanted to make a gyroscopic railway. And he was like, what is magnetism? We don't know. So there's little me, little hooligan Zeesh, going, God, this is a professor. He doesn't know what magnetism is. Let's go. But there was a guy called Kenneth Wheeler down in Florida, and he says he knows what magnetism is. He's like a sea mistress with like crocodile leather, and he's a genius. Like he can translate.
Real quick, Zeus. I don't mean to cut you.
Oh yeah, no, sorry.
Can you? Because I told you we're gonna do an interview.
Oh right, yeah.
You know, just how we chop it up. But
yeah. Sorry.
Can you inform everybody that's in the chat?
Yeah.
What they put in, some of the stuff that they put in the COVID vaccine, and what was some of that initiative when we start talking about nanotechnology.
Yeah.
And you can start talking about the triangle and stuff and all that.
Sorry, what is the question?
Can you kind of elaborate some of the stuff that was in the vaccine and kind of talk about some of the nanotechnology?
All right, then. So in a layman's terms, you know, when all of you were like going, hey, Goat, I was thinking about Bianca today, and then suddenly Bianca like calls you, or Darren was thinking about Rivette, and then suddenly like, oh yeah, all right, Rivette, I was thinking about you today, and then you called. Have you noticed that those that you might have gone to them and said, please don't take the jab, just please don't do it, you know, this is a nefarious.
No offense to nobody who took it, like, it's, you know,
no judgment, because it was a global psyop. Right now, some of you, if you did take it, you might have taken one or two, right, and then you went, I'm never doing that again. You've got to a point now where you're and also remember that they brought it out under emergency measures, so a lot of that people took was saline solution. Okay, so there's that part. But if you're, I don't think the people in here are going to be the people that are still going back for that jab. I'm getting invitations now for my children, like 10, to go and take it, and it's such a Ponzi. I'm like, but it's so nefarious and evil, because I don't think viruses exist. I think they're poisoning us. So with that jab, Catherine Austin Fitts, because this is about money today that we're talking about, Cash Friday, let's go. And Catherine Austin Fitts, that's in the state of Tennessee, that I think their governor is all into the gold and farming and all that good stuff. They were saying that the first batch, she worked for HUD, the Housing Commission, she's seen it was all corrupt and all that stuff. So she's really into teaching people to stack gold and all that. But she said the first vials of Corona were luminous. So that stuff that's in there is nanosynthetic biology. And when you look at, when Mark's talking to you about interoperability and how everything interconnects, you listen then to some of these WEF people, you know, and bear in mind, some of these tokens are WEF tokens. Like the H-bar and stuff, because I always look when they
World Economic Forum.
Yeah, I always look at the tokens when they've just come back from their events, you know, see how they're going to manipulate, you know, because Jamie Dimon's there and all that stuff. But no, but that stuff they put into the body is nanosynthetic biology. If anyone wants to learn more about it, just go and read some of Alana Freeland's books, or you could look into The Invisible Rainbow. But it looks to me like they're poisoning us with these things, and then this shedding and all that stuff. So I kind of got into this because I'm a dad, and I was like, no, I'm not doing no jab. I'm not broken. I don't need to be fixed. I like, you know, look at the Madagascan president. Look at those amazing Tanzania doctors, you know, the ones that they were wise to Carrie Mullis, who was a great human being around the AIDS pandemic. And, you know, he never wanted his PCR test to be used for that. And you know, they killed, I think they probably killed him. But the point being, with all that stuff, that there was the amazing politicians of Tanzania. They seen right through it because they were educated, and they were like, but they weren't stupid, and they were like, you know, because they were connected to their roots, and they were like, well, we're going to test the mango, and we're going to call it Peter, and we're going to test the goat, and we're going to call it Paul, and they did all this stuff, and they were like, man, the mango came back positive, and the goat came back negative, and they were just like, this is a psyop, and then they killed them all and replaced them with who? So this whole thing is like a complete and utter
World
psyop.
Health
World Health Organization. Yeah,
Yeah.
World Deaf. They should be called the WDO, right? They're wanted in some of those countries. But yeah, no. So that stuff is just, if it's not broken, why fix it? Your body is an amazing immune system, always trying to fix itself. And you know, I focus on the great in food, the great in medicine, and now the great in technology. So if you have had it, you can disrupt it, but you don't get psyoped into all these like fake rife technologies and stuff. You want to seek out a true analog technology, and also then bring in, like, start to nourish yourself with good fats. So a good human being to research, or a good book to research, authors would be Nourishing Traditions, and start guzzling A2 dairy and finding local. I kind of just say keep it local, you know, try and find all your best eggs, the best A2 dairy. If you're a vegan, you know, there's lots you can do. I kind of think it's okay, but you kind of want to live somewhere like Hawaii or somewhere like that. But if you're in somewhere like North Carolina or Tennessee or somewhere like that, Virginia, like, connect to your Weston A. Price Foundation and just start to satiate your body with good fats and learn about essential oils. Like, even if you've taken the jab, learn about things like, for the brain, laurel leaf essential oil from this company Des Rosier is really good. Laurel leaf, it's really good for the brain. And I kind of see it all, it's all investment, isn't it? These currencies are investment, your food is an investment. We're sick and tired of these bankers telling us what we can and can't eat, and how they want to control us with, you know, CBDCs and all this rubbish. And like,
let me stop you right there real quick, Zeesh. And also, when Zeesh talking about the banks controlling you, if you go on my Instagram page, I made a video talking about UBI and
Yes.
UHI, which is Universal Basic Income,
Yes.
and Universal High Income. They are both the same thing. I think Elon Musk kind of termed UHI, and basically all of that is the government paying you to stay at home. So when they pay you to stay at home, remember I told y'all, you never depend, you cannot trust the government.
No.
And if they're the ones that's feeding you, they're also the ones that can cut off you being fed. So if
Yes.
you get placed on universal basic income, they can pretty much be like, well, we don't want you to eat this. You have to use your money that we give you to buy this. You can't buy these foods, you need to buy this. You can't buy this medication, you need to buy this. And so think about, if more government equals more control, and they'll be able to govern what you do. You want freedom.
Overreach.
So like I said, DeFi, decentralized finance, and hey, you just need to get your freedom back. So
It would be good.
And going back into the nanotech that you were saying, Zeesh,
Mark, it would be,
well, we didn't even touch on that.
Mark,
But
it would be good. Mark, it would be good to cut. It would be good to take a cut up of that Augustin guy, you know, that big fat Argentinian or whatever from the World Bank. It would be good to get a cut up of him telling everybody what he wants to do. Or is it Augustin? Augustin Carson or whatever his name is. Like, man, that guy is not short of food, is he?
Yeah, they, like Z saying, they lie to everybody about everything. The foods that they say are good for you, they're actually not. And the food that's good for you, they pretty much kind of psyop you into believing that.
Think of it like this, right? They're telling you all how green they want to save the planet. Yet if you look at every supermarket that BlackRock owns and every little corner shop that they own, that they want to give you all their shit food, that stuff is the stuff that is creating the climate problems. So, like, why would you want to support that? And I think when you vote with your dollar, vote with your pound, vote with your Australian dollar, your yen, then you're deciding what you want to see in the world. So if you're at the moment going to Maccadees or a supermarket, you know, a fast food, point that money to someone who's making the best burger, or, you know, raising the happiest pigs or whatever. You know, you just got to flip that switch and, you know, connect to your water and just connect to those that are doing it the right way. And then also by building, like what Mark was saying the other day, by building those relationships now before they pull out another boogeyman, like, and then close everything down again, because they've already done their little, got everyone to wear silly masks and do all that rubbish. So they're going to do it again. So, but if you build the relationships now and you're in a state of situational awareness, okay, where's my food going to come from? If everybody behaves like lunatics again and buys all the toilet roll and buys all the food, well, how have I built that relationship already? And with my friends around me, I'm doing a cow share, or I'm friends with the Amish people down the road now. With the FBI went in the other day and raided it. Maybe I should eat that butter.
They can tokenize cows, by the way. They can put your livestock and stuff. It can go on the blockchain, so you can own percentages of a cow. Everything is going on the blockchain and being digitized. Not to cut you, but that kind of go full circle in some of the stuff that we're talking about.
Oh, and yeah.
One more thing I wanted to add, and I'm gonna wrap it up. But with this nanotechnology that they have been trying to infuse people with, they can basically control your body. They can control your thoughts. So think vibrations, right? Having a lot of that technology in you, somebody can hit you with a signal and it can control your thoughts. So, hey, I got a taste for McDonald's. You may not really have a taste for McDonald's, but through what they trying to put in everybody's body, they're trying to control people, like literally their consciousness. And that's a whole deeper story, but that's why I'm an advocate. Like, man, watch what you put in your body, watch the vaccine stuff and them shots that they give you, all of that, because it goes back into control. And that's when we start getting into like what some of the stuff that I've been posting recently on my Instagram, because we in a whole different age. And I'm not going to touch on that subject right now, but yeah, Zeesh, I think we need to go on and wrap it up, man. We can, we'll talk.
Oh yeah, no, sorry. Yeah, no, thanks for welcoming me in. Yeah, no, apologies for being late. It was interesting what I heard anyway. Hey, nice to meet you all anyway. Good to be here.
And yeah, I hope all of y'all was able to kind of take something away from this. And yeah, man, just invest. Right now, you need to be trying to make as much money as you can and putting your money into the right things, investing into the right things. And blockchain and crypto is not something that's scary. It's just that a lot of people don't know about it and how it works. So they're unknowledgeable to know how to protect themselves, or if somebody trying to scam on them. One more quick debriefing. If somebody trying to scam on you, let's say with Bitcoin or whatever, ask them, because you know now where's the white paper. If they don't have a white paper, that means it's probably a scam. Ask them what type of consensus mechanism do they use. Look up consensus mechanisms. Do they use proof of work, proof of stake, whatever? You can ask them detailed questions, and you'll see, based off of how they respond, they won't know what they're talking about. Keep your stuff safe. Lock it up in your cold or hot storage. And yeah, man, I hope all this was informational and y'all was able to take something from it. But yeah, until next time. This was like 2 hours and 30 minutes, but it was all good. Follow Zeesh, by the way, if y'all interested. Y'all didn't even see him cut on the volley ray machine, and he didn't even go into crazy detail about what it does. But you'll be able to find more of the information out. Go on this page and you'll look at a few of his videos. You'll learn a whole lot. And yeah, until next time.